Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss the major astrology of 2026. Yes, we're going to look at what is coming up in the new year, some of the major themes that are going to be presented, as well as the priorities that you'll want to be aware of sooner than later, because 2026 is going to feel like a very different energy field simply because of what we have been moving through here in 2025. Now, no doubt about it, 2025 has been intense. The purpose of this year has been revealing to you more of what you're leaving behind, clearing out, healing, and deeply transforming. And in order to do that, you've had to go through some intense awakenings, fears, triggers, emotional catalysts, and an intentional look at who you are now versus who you feel you're becoming, especially into the next few years of this decade. 2025 has been a time of new soul assignments coming in so that you could have a glimpse of what is possible, what you could put your energy towards and into. But in order to do so, you've had to be very clear in what no longer resonates, in what you have to leave behind and close out. So this year has been a lot of back and forth, push and pull, starting and endings, very little stable ground. In fact, you could feel that the foundation has always been shaking this year. Almost like the earthquake rumbles through and you think, okay, it's over. And then here comes the next one. And all of this serves a beautiful divine purpose of shaking us up out of our previous states of being, out of the consciousness that we are outgrowing, so that we can understand this is our time to choose. What do I really want? What truly matters to me in this lifetime? And you might have felt as well that 2025 was bringing in whole new levels of soul wisdom and soul awareness that you were feeling at a core level of your being, even though it was difficult to fully understand it at times. Because part of this year that maybe we didn't even realize at times, although I have discussed it a lot on this podcast, is that we've been moving through so many merging timelines that have been overlapping. And so you've been magnetizing in and calling in energies from other lifetimes and other soul experiences that you're also deeply working through and closing out. And this is what has been part of those earthquake rumblings and shocks, is that the assignment was much bigger than you thought. It's sort of like everything has been a scope creep. I didn't realize this was coming in and that was showing up. But yes, it is all for a divine purpose and a divine reason, because we are setting off onto new soul assignments that have already been streaming in. And you could perhaps even feel them like right beyond your aura, right there, just out of reach. But they are approaching, they're getting stronger. The frequency match is certainly aligning. And that's also part of the bridge work of 2025, where we are moving across a bridge of new frequencies into new experiences, new energetics, like a whole new playground. All of these new openings are coming through that, again, maybe you can see it right on the horizon. It's just right there. And that's a glimpse of what 2026 is going to be offering you, because everything about 2025 is going to pay off. All the work you've been doing this year is ultimately setting you free and allowing you to move forward into new levels of experience. And I feel that even though 2025 has had a lot of separation and division in it, a lot of energies that are meant to split, that all serves a beautiful purpose. That actually is part of the illusion as well, is that we never are truly split when everything is cohesively related through the higher energetics. It's sort of like it's just part of the game. It's part of our free will and our choices. It's part of our ability to be in a place of love for our personal sovereignty and personal path. And to be able to honor the separation is actually a form of unconditional love. Unconditional love for you and for others. It allows you to accept what others need, want, or are creating while doing the same for yourself. And so I do feel like this will be a year that you look back, especially in a few years, and say, wow, that's why that happened. That's what I learned in 2025. That's what that was about for me. And I see the gold in it. I see the beauty of it. I see my own power and strength and light in it. And I understand why that year had to be as intense and difficult as it was. Now, as we move on here into 2026, the energies in the collective field are going to greatly shift. And we do have planets moving into astrology signs that they sampled in 2025. So we're going to have in January, Neptune re-entering Aries. That occurs on January 26, 2026, followed a few weeks later by Saturn re-entering Aries on February 14th. So then they both are back in Aries and they have a monumental conjunction at 0 degrees, 44 minutes of Aries on February 20th, signifying a whole new world. Cue Aladdin is coming in and coming forth. And it's that whole new world that we've been feeling and sampling and getting some hints of that finally starts to arrive, and it will be more concrete as 2026 continues to unfold. In 2025, Neptune and Saturn were just giving you hints of what is possible in your new sense of self, in what you are forming and trusting in yourself in a whole new way. And I feel that this conjunction is bringing our attention to what really matters to me now, what is fulfilling to me at a core level. What do I want in my life that aligns with my sense of self, my personal goals, my personal interests, my ascension journey, and what I want to intentionally begin. There's a lot of intentionality here as both planets return to Aries and have this conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. And so this is a time to be contemplating what that is for you, to be really clear in where you want your energy to go, as well as what you don't want to invest in anymore. I feel that another theme of 2025, in terms of all of the letting go, changes, perhaps turmoil that you've been through, has also been showing you how you are divinely supported in moving on, and you don't have to die or have a horrible event occur in order to move forward. I think many people have been receiving divine support based on your accumulated good karma across multiple lifetimes. So stay aware of that. Tune into that energy. In fact, feed that. All the good karma you've created across various energy cycles and lifetimes, that is showing up to support you in moving ahead. So have gratitude for that. Give thanks for that, because that's your own energy coming back around to support you in moving into this new start. So 2026 wants you to be very intentional around what you want to create next. This is absolutely a vision board. This is a list of what you want to manifest. This is feeding energy into what is truly you now and allowing the universe to see that, feel that, and match that. So that's going to be a big part of 2026. Now, also, as the year gets going, we're going to have 2 eclipses happening here in February and early March. February 17th will be an Aquarius solar eclipse at 29 degrees, followed 2 weeks later by a Virgo lunar eclipse at 13 degrees on March 3rd. It's a very interesting pairing of eclipses, and the same is true when we have the next set of eclipses in August. These eclipses are going to be quite jolting because they don't seem to be working together. They're not working together. They're going to be further emphasizing life changes at both the macro and micro levels. And I'm seeing it as working with a few different levels of our consciousness and showing us where we have some powerful life choices to make. Of course, I'll be talking about the eclipses as we get closer to them, but it's important to have the heads up that all 4 eclipses are in 4 different astrology signs and 4 different elements. So the first 2 here in February and March are in air and earth signs, and then later in August, they're in fire and water. So more specifically, on August 12th, it's a Leo solar eclipse at 20 degrees, and then 2 weeks later, August 28th, a Pisces lunar eclipse at 5 degrees. So 4 areas of your chart are going to be undergoing big life changes. There's going to be a lot more happening in your world that could be hard to manage at times, because these eclipses are basically up-leveling 4 parts of our lives, of our charts. And this is where you could have an overhaul of energies, where the life transformations are occurring rapidly. And that is, of course, one of the signatures of eclipses, is that they bring in new starts and beginnings quite powerfully, as well as remove what has served its purpose and is closing out. So I feel that this is going to be very dynamic, and it's also going to be very personal for you if you have planets or points around these eclipse energies. Now, the eclipses are related to the nodes of fate. And in the middle of the year, we have the nodes changing from that north node in Pisces and south node in Virgo to the north node in Aquarius and the south node in Leo. So this is going to be a welcome relief for those of you with planets or points in the mutable signs being not only Pisces and Virgo, but Gemini and Sagittarius. Those energies have been requiring you to make conscious choices, be adaptable, be open, be flexible, but also be aware of your own karmic comfort, where the universe is saying it's time to let that go. It served its purpose, and you're moving forward here with the guidance of your soul, which is uncertain at times. Well, as the nodes of fate move into Aquarius and Leo, we are opening up into new ways of doing things in our lives. We are connecting with a higher purpose and a soul mission that can potentially beautifully impact the collective. We're also going to sense that it's time to step into more of our authentic nature, that it's okay to be different or to feel that you've never fit in, because of course that's all part of the belief systems and the programming of the 3D, which wants everyone to be cookie cutter, to do as they're told, to look like each other, or at least to follow what have been traditional paths. With the North Node in Aquarius, there's going to be more support for your individual energy frequency, and seeing how that is a beautiful gift to the whole, that it's part of the cosmic mosaic of the planet. And there's more people who are going to strike out on their own, who are going to have a sense of, this is what I want to do with my life. This is truly my purpose. I want to go over here and invest in this. There's going to be more divergent pathways opening up with that North Node in Aquarius, where you might feel like it's finally time to do something you've been thinking about. Now that North Node in Aquarius is signaling the openings are here. What you've been perhaps seeing or viewing around future potentials are now coming into existence and arriving in your reality. So of course, we'll talk about that more as we move closer to the nodes changing signs. And that will happen actually in July, is when that North Node moves into Aquarius, South Node moves into Leo. The South Node in Leo is going to be clearing out old power dynamics, old ways of being recognized or needing to be seen. It's going to be a cleansing of your lower ego self, so that it could be easier to detach and step back and look at, is this something that's only operating from my self-interest? Or do I have more gifts and more lights to share with the whole that would not only serve me better, but serve the collective better? So we're going to be examining what parts of ourselves are no longer aligned with our soul path. You could feel there's then a turnover in what you want to focus on, in what you want to create. You might realize you don't have energy for a particular passion, sport, or recreational habit anymore. You maybe don't want to compete for something, and maybe it's coming to your awareness that there was some unconscious levels of competition that you were operating from. There could also be a renewal here around your inner child and, in fact, all connections with children, looking at what needs to grow and develop in our inner child and with the children in our lives. So this will be a part of our soul growth journey as we move through 2026. Now, another change that's happening in the year is that Uranus is going to re-enter Gemini the end of April. This will happen April 25th, 26th. As Uranus now stays in Gemini until 2033. So this is where we're going to see a stronger shift in our collective values, what we prioritize every day, how our daily lives are going to be speeding up. There's going to be new communications, new inventions, new technologies, new things that are integrated into our daily lifestyles that pick up the pace of life. And it will be a change in the rhythm of how we go about our personal worlds. We're going to feel like we can get more done, that we are more efficient and faster at completing various tasks. You could feel like you're even able to travel faster to certain places. I know that they are testing various forms of individual transportation. There's these individual air taxis that are currently in development. There's going to be faster moving mobile options to whisk us along with new speeds. And then, of course, we're already feeling and sensing that with our everyday devices, interactions, and communication styles. It's all going to be speeding up, especially when Uranus returns to Gemini and stays there. We got a sample of it in 2025. And of course, we've been seeing all the incoming changes happening with these new technologies, artificial intelligence, quantum intelligence, humanoids, robotics, new scientific breakthroughs and discoveries. I'm also feeling like we're going to have a lot more coming through that's based on technologies from other planets. I've been seeing these arriving on the moon, that the moon has become a resource storage bank, if you will. And there are other places where new resources have been arriving for humans to test and experiment with. Of course, there's been a lot of experiments happening in space, a lot of ongoing tests, especially around the human capability of living in space. For example, testing how certain human organs survive in different environments, what they need for support, if they need to have any kind of DNA changes and DNA shifts in order to survive in other environments. So that's part of the high-level experiments that are going on off-planet that are, of course, not widely discussed or disclosed. Also, the ongoing experiments about humans living on different planets and in different places of the cosmos. The moon is very active. There's a lot going on within the moon. It's like a beehive of energy inside there. But that's also been where a lot of these tests and experiments have been unfolding. And so that's where we're going. That's a lot of what we're moving into here as Uranus in Gemini takes us into new frontiers that we haven't been able to mentally understand or consider. You know, there have also been stories about individuals who have been transported to the moon, to Mars, to other places through various cosmic technologies. And they've been the test subjects for those experiments. There's also work being done at a neurological level where certain parts of our memory can be erased. Certain parts of our brains can be altered or tempered. And these are certainly experiments that have been ongoing. Trauma-based mind control being the worst, known as monarch programming, which came about from MK Ultra experiments. And I'm bringing that up because the last time Uranus was in Gemini is when these experiments were happening. They are attributed with beginning immediately after World War II, stemming from Nazi scientists. And that is a whole rabbit hole you could travel down if you're interested in. But it is worth noting that the last time Uranus was in Gemini, those types of activities were going on. And so we want to be, of course, mindful and aware that in this new cycle where human consciousness is so much more elevated, we are more connected than ever before, that we are also able to perceive more than what meets the eye. And so that's why I'm feeling like there's going to be even more of an emphasis on what is happening off planet in 2026 that is grabbing our attention, raising our consciousness, and asking more questions so that we can accumulate more information and understanding in order to get to some of the intentions of these activities. Now, this Uranus in Gemini is going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius. This is very powerful in advancing human consciousness, human knowledge, the human experience, changing it permanently and in very pivotal ways. This is where 2026 is going to feel faster. And I feel that the tempo is really going to increase once Uranus returns to Gemini in late April, interacts with Pluto and with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Things are going to really start to pick up in the second half of the year. So the first half of 2026 could feel like we are arriving, we are getting settled, we are understanding more of what we're actively choosing, what we want to create intentionally in our lives. This is go-getter energy is what I'm feeling as well, even though Saturn in Aries is slower. And Neptune in Aries is more whimsical and softer. I'm feeling like with all these outer planets moving into air and fire signs, there is something locking in within us at a core cellular level that's waking up our DNA, bringing about a very deep awakening into what you want to move towards in your life, and a feeling like this is the time. I'm ready. I want to move towards this and create this. Something could be blossoming within you in 2026 that gives you that courage to do something new, to be very different, to reshape or reform your self-identity into more of your true self, which actually is not reshaping or reforming. It's allowing your true authentic energy to come forward and be birthed. And it's not going to feel as scary because millions of people are receiving those same activations. I'm just feeling like the cosmic codes of 2026 are going to be undeniably strong, activating you at this time to live your life in a new way. We are moving into new experiences on this planet that are very hard to fathom or predict. There it is. That's my prediction. It's going to be hard to predict exactly what's going to happen, because there's so many different timelines that are now active, and we are moving through this galactic ascension cycle that's taking us into new realms of experiences that humans have never had before. This is where the energies are not only speeding up, but they're requiring us to work with a new rhythm in life, to be more actively participating in where our energy goes, to be more intentional with what you're using your energy for and what you're not using your energy for. There's going to be a streamlining effect here where you'll know this is what's worth my time, energy, and effort. This is what I need to invest in, and many other things are going to fall off and fall away. These outer planets are energetic, dynamic, creative, fast-paced, and accelerating us. So it comes down to, how do you work with these air and fire energies in your chart? If you have strong air and fire, you are going to feel alive, finally, like things are showing up and moving ahead for you, that perhaps things felt very slow, heavy, dense, and stagnant. And now they come through at lightning speed and change your energy as well as your life in significant ways. In fact, one way I would look at 2025 to 2026 is that 2025 has been the end of a slower paced mode of life. Now, that could be hard to understand because time is speeding up and accelerating, and we're moving through energies at a much faster rate. But where we're going is going to feel like Mach 5. It's going to feel like we're going to have more of an understanding between the contrast of when the outer planets were in earth and water signs versus the Mach 5 speeds of the outer planets in fire and air signs. So interestingly enough, we are closing out a slower way of living. And that's going to be more apparent as we move into the faster speeds of 2026 and beyond. Now, one other strong energy shift of 2026 will be Chiron entering Taurus, hanging out at 0 degrees of Taurus, the middle of June until the middle of September. Then it re-enters Aries and finishes up in the final degrees of Aries into 2027 before fully returning to Taurus. So this means in about that third quarter of the year, we're going to have a sample of Chiron and Taurus energies that show us what we really need and what we really value. This can certainly bring up a financial crisis. This is going to highlight materialism and consumerism. In fact, as we move into 2026, this is a year to be more aware of what you want to put money into, what is important to you, versus what is a waste of time, a waste of energy. You already have this in your closet. You already own enough of this. This is bringing your consciousness to what do I really want to own and possess that supports me, that supports my lifestyle and my true values versus what is frivolous, extravagant, and no longer meaningful. So as Chiron moves into Taurus, hangs out at 0 degrees for 3 months, again, the middle of June to middle of September, there's going to be some reality hits around finances, money, savings, and investments, the state of the planet, what the Earth is truly experiencing, especially resources from the Earth, such as minerals, gold, silver, coal, lithium, etc. There will be announcements around what's no longer available on the planet, what we have lost, and then brings us to a new point of understanding, well, what is really important now? What do I really need? What is sustainable? And what can I rely upon? So this is going to be a sampling of Chiron and Taurus energies that could be quite surprising and shocking, but also return us to more basics and simpler ways of living. And again, that's going to be interesting because it will be a very different pace than this fast Uranus and Gemini trining Pluto in Aquarius energies. So of course, we'll be discussing that more as we move into 2026. But I feel that this Chiron in Taurus is going to bring us back into ourselves and how we really want to live and create a good life. Maybe there's some things that you're really ready to cut out and leave behind. You're ready for a simpler existence where you can choose to do so. There's going to be efforts to return to connecting with the earth more intentionally as well as more actively. I feel there's also going to be a lot of simplification here around what people have in their homes, what you have on your desk or in your kitchen cupboards. There's going to be a sense of it's all too much. It's overwhelming me. So what can I create in my personal space that grounds me, that brings me a sense of peace, especially when the external world is moving so fast and spinning all around me. And this Chiron in Taurus is going to be more important in the second half of the year because, again, that's when Chiron enters Taurus after all the other planets have re-entered the signs that they're going to stay in. So the second half of this year is going to bring us into more of our personal values, what is essential, what is needed. And it would be good to start planning for that now, to be aware of that now, so that when those energies arrive in the second half of 2026, you already have an understanding of this is what I want, this is what I need, because I've already been investing in it. It doesn't catch you off guard. It doesn't come about as some perhaps extreme catastrophe or development. Rather, you've already been pacing yourself and slowing down what you can control. For example, this could be a year when you're really serious about paying off certain bills, the car payment, the mortgage, investing or saving more money than normal. You might have some new financial goals that are front and center that you're being energetically drawn to as something that is important right now. Of course, it's different for everyone, and everyone has their own situations and circumstances. Maybe this is a year where you realize I want to get another source of income. I want to do something after work or on the weekends or on the side that allows me to accumulate more just to have in my back pocket just in case. Now, I'm not trying to sound any alarms or make it sound extreme, but realistically speaking, we have been talking about an incoming economic crash and big changes in the financial system for a while. And I think that with Chiron entering Taurus, it's going to signal where we're really at, what systems are truly working, which ones are not. And it's also going to make it more evident where our values lie. So 2026 is a year to trust what you value, to put your energy and intention into that, work with it responsibly, and not be distracted as much by all the chaos and everything going on in the external world, especially what you can't control, but come back to center, listen to your messages around what you should trust sooner than later to support your ongoing foundation, lifestyle choices, and personal needs. Now, another change that's happening in 2026 will be Jupiter moving from Cancer into Leo on July 1st. And so Jupiter will be in Cancer for half of the year, continuing to work with our heart space, inner world, true feelings, to trust ourselves more. Jupiter in Cancer is activating more of what we feel and to travel with that going forward, to learn the wisdom of your own internal world, knowing that it's something you can always trust and turn to. As Jupiter moves into Leo, I feel that there's going to be a powerful activation in our light bodies, that we're going to expand into more of our true selves that are ready to come online, which is in harmony with the other energies of 2026. And I feel like this Jupiter moving into Leo is also going to give you new strength and courage to be who you truly are and love yourself for it. I feel this is an expansion of the solar plexus and the heart chakra. This is also going to be a beautiful time for love, romance, connections, heart-based interactions where you just feel good in the presence of another. There could be new levels of magnetism that show up as well as you call in more people who connect to your heart space, and also those who have the similar vibration around light frequencies. So that's how I'm seeing this Jupiter entering into Leo on July 1st, is that it brings about more of our own strength to be who we are on the planet now, and that there's something around opening up to more of your gifts, your creative skills, and your unique abilities. Jupiter moves into Leo before the nodes of fate change signs, because that north node moves into Aquarius, right? And the south node moves into Leo. That happens towards the end of July, July 26th, and it's going to be sweeping out and removing whatever has been excessive in the Leo energies. And then this Jupiter in Leo is going to be calling in more of what you are here to maintain, own, and love in yourself. And it's yet another planet moving into a fire sign. So you can see that the energy signature is going to be quite evident, that the fire and air signs are being activated and coming online at a whole new level, accelerating us into new realities. And it will be hard to predict, at least at this time, exactly what that's going to be or how it's going to look. But at an individual level, you could look at where these energies are showing up in your own chart. And that's actually the best way to look at these big transits, is to look at what is coming about for you in your chart as all of these planets move into the signs that they're going to stay at, and what shifts for you that is now coming online, that is getting new energy, new dynamic frequencies, clicking and connecting in whole new levels and whole new ways. So you want to look at the early degrees of the fire signs, especially early degrees of Aries, early degrees of Leo, and then the early degrees of the air signs of Gemini and Aquarius. All of these are going to be very powerful throughout 2026. You also want to identify where you have 0 degrees of Taurus, as that's where Chiron is moving in to bring your practical awareness to your values, money, possessions, and self-worth. We have a lot of planets at the 0 degree points in 2026. It is a reset year. It is a year of these new beginnings. And the 0 point is, of course, about pure potentials and activating your intentionality. And we've been sampling that here in 2025, but then 2026 is where you make a commitment to those intentions. You understand this is where I'm directing my life force, my creative abilities, my choices, my power, and to trust what that is for you. There's also going to be themes here around your personal sovereignty and choosing what is essential for you, not worrying about what's going on for others, maybe in your friend groups or family or out there in the world, but coming back to center and saying, this is what I declare is important for me. This is what I'm claiming in my life, in this timeline, in this reality. This is where I'm activating all of my power. I call all my power back to me now to be in this present moment and to support me in these intentions and developments that I'm creating. So I hope that gives you a good understanding of how to approach 2026 as well as where we're going, which again, it's hard to predict. We're not going to know exactly what it is, but we do know, for example, it's a strong 0 degree point year. It is a very active, dynamic year with planets and points in fire and air signs. It is a time of focused intentionality, and it's certainly a year of fast-moving developments that take you forward in your life. So if you have felt that you've been delayed, stagnant, slow, or dense in 2025, I just want to affirm that has been right on time. That is part of what we have needed to experience. It's interesting because I'm getting the visual right now of a slingshot where you feel maybe you get pulled back against your will into previous experiences, timelines, energies, healing themes, karma. But that slingshot gets pulled back only to be released and let go of, to fly further than it has before. So I want to offer that as a final visual here for the energies of 2026, and also a reminder that you can track what is going to be happening for you in your chart into 2029, especially in the higher timelines of your own potentials. That's because 2025 has been a starting point of energies that are unfolding into 2029 as the outer planets all connect here in a minor grand trine that is going to be very strong in 2026, and it's activating more of your own soul intentions of what you're here to rebirth, trust, and follow. And I know we say that a lot in these kinds of podcasts and you hear that all around, but this is real. This is where you are really in charge at a whole new level of existence. So what are you choosing? What are you saying yes to? Even if it feels selfish, even if it's brand new and it's requiring you to be more independent or more courageous than ever before. This is the time to be in your full energetic presence and create exactly what you want. The universe is doing that for all of us because the universe knows that we are ready. We've been through a lot of healing, dark nights of the soul, intense personal discovery work. We've been doing the shadow work, the inner child work, the deprogramming, all of it and more. And it's preparing us for these years ahead so that you can live on this planet, loving your life more, being in alignment with who you are and feeling newly empowered. And I'm really excited about this, as you can hear in my voice, because it's so rare. These transiting aspects are so rare that they have me excited around where humanity can go, where the collective field can expand and rise, and how we can actually love more of what we're here to experience, which I know sounds like an odd message when you consider everything going on with AI and all the fears that are being stirred up around this. I want to bring you back into what you are here to experience at a human level, at a soul level that is right on time. So that is one of the energies that we're moving into as well in 2026 into 2029. And if you need assistance with determining what this could be for you and what's coming up in your chart, please check out my Manifesting with the Minor Grand Trine program, where I show you what to look at in your chart, what is coming up for you, where to be ready to say yes and trust yourself, the new areas of your world that are connecting with abundance, the openings and opportunities that are happening for you for the first time ever in your life, All of that and more is what we're moving into. If that's what you choose, if that is your level of consciousness, if you're open to it, if you're willing to trust that part of yourself. Because, I've got to be straight with you. Some people are not going to say yes to this, and they're going to continue into the doom and gloom, and they're going to give their power away, and they're going to say it's all difficult, and I don't know what to do, and I have no choices, and the worst is around the corner. And I'm saying that's your choice. This is part of how we powerfully choose what we're going to focus on and manifest. So if I can help you with that, if that's something you would like, I'll put the link below the podcast here. But this is a time to be ready to live your life at a whole new level and in a whole new way, if that's what you want, and if that's something you're simply ready to experiment with and explore. So I hope this has given you some good insights into the overall energies of 2026. It will be more fascinating to explore it as we move through these energies. And of course, we'll keep discussing it all on this podcast. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back with a new episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yes, I have changed my format to be releasing episodes for you 3 times a week. And I will still be sharing with you the chart videos and more informational teachings on YouTube. So I am basically adding in one more podcast episode a week just to keep pace with these energies as they're coming in. Wishing you a beautiful week ahead and a beautiful year ahead. Thank you so much for traveling with me. I appreciate your time, energy, and presence, and I look forward to continuing our conversation in the weeks ahead. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.